Hey, thanks for listening to Small Town Podcast. I'm Brittany Madera, your host. A special episode this time on the podcast. Generally, I record these things from home in my living room, and I am in fact recording this portion there. But most of what you are going to be hearing is audio that I recorded while on an adventure walking through a local cemetery.
Things happen for some years in a little town by the sea. Every week disappears a couple of tourists without a trace. Citizens don't mind at all as long as all the tourists disappear. Know exactly what's going on. They know about the cemetery. The cemetery in the sea, the cemetery in the sea, the cemetery in the sea, the cemetery in the sea.
I make that sound cooler than what it is. Granted, I was in Oakland Cemetery. Yes, I admit it was 3 p.m. on a very bright and very sunny day. But you know what? I'm still counting it as an adventure. It was cool. So Oakland Cemetery is in Indiana, Pennsylvania. That's the town where I work and where I went to college, and it's kind of close to where I live. That cemetery is just giant. It's 34 acres. Of course, I didn't go through all of that acreage. It also has a chapel/public mausoleum, and also a private mausoleum for just the members of the Elkin family. That's a big name around here. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is it's a giant place. One of the first things I did when I got to that cemetery was check out this really old, dilapidated building. And I'm thinking now that it's the groundskeeper's building, but after the way that this winter was, and I don't know, maybe even before that, I don't know because I've never been in this cemetery before. Anyway, that building is kind of crumbling now. Here's some audio after I went exploring and peeking around that little groundskeeper building. I do want to warn you, it was a super windy day, and Oakland Cemetery is already on a hill, so that makes it even windier up there. What I'm saying is prepare for this audio to have a ton of noise from the wind. There's a building right in the middle of the cemetery. It's a tan brick building with a green roof and green doors, and it's just falling apart. There are leaves all over the roof. Parts of it have collapsed. I tried to see, it looked like there was an entrance that you could get into at one point, but it's all bricked off. And I stood by there for a while trying to debate, I took a picture, I took a selfie there, I have to admit, I'll post it. And then I walked around to the other side, and there is this big door, big green door, and it's a paneled door, and it looks like somebody has broken one of the panels out of it. So I stood there for a while, and then I put my phone, the camera on my phone, through the hole and turned on the flash, and I took a picture, and oh god, it's so creepy. There's really nothing in there. I mean, it's what you would expect of an abandoned building, but it's so creepy. I have to admit, I ran after that. It's not even that the photo itself shows anything creepy, but as soon as I took it, I took off running. I'm still in the cemetery, but I don't think I will be visiting that building again. And I don't know if most cemeteries have this, because I'm not an expert on cemeteries, but Oakland Cemetery has, this weird circle henge type thing dedicated to just one family, the Wilsons. So now I am standing at one of the monuments kind of in the middle of the cemetery, and it is giant. It's one of those, it's a monument that kind of looks like the Washington Monument, a lot smaller, obviously, but kind of the same shape. And it's stuck right here in the middle of a clearing with some trees. The trees are kind of in a circle around it. And I should mention that also in a circle around it are a whole bunch of other graves, like literally in a circle. They are encircling this monument and facing outwards. And it's kind of weird and kind of beautiful. Mostly creepy. I'm kind of creeped out. It looks like a place that bad things would happen. And I'm standing inside of this circle right now looking up at this monument. It is apparently the Wilson, I don't know what you would call it, the Wilson gravesite, the Wilson monument, the Wilson, it's not a mausoleum, they're all graves, they're all outdoors. I don't know what to call this besides a Wilson circle. And I'm standing inside of it, and I am surrounded by Wilsons. It was a lot of walking. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm getting really winded. This is a lot of walking. I don't know how many square miles the cemetery is, but this is just massive, massive, massive. And I haven't even covered half of it. I would say if you have, and I'm sure you do, every single town has a cemetery. If you have not been in yours in a while, go and look through it. This is awesome. And I think you don't really have to worry about being creepy. I've been here for about an hour, and I haven't seen anybody. I looked at a lot of graves and at a lot of the headstones, but there was one that really stood out in particular, and I wasn't sure what to do with what I found there. I don't know how to pronounce the name. Olive Geiste, I think. Or Guist. I don't know. It's a man, I assume, since the name is Olive. Not Oliver, though, just Olive. 1904 to 1996. And there are a lot of knickknacks on this grave. It's not an upright tombstone. It's one of the ones that just kind of looks like a big brick in the ground. And there are a lot of knickknacks. Most of them are religious. There is a Jesus, and there's a Pieta, and there is a crucifix that is laying kind of on the ground. There is a gopher? There's a gopher, not a real one, a knick-knack. And he's wearing a blue t-shirt, and the t-shirt says Burrowed Treasure, which I find odd in a cemetery. There is a teddy bear knick-knack. Another, a cross with what looks to be 2 rings on it, like wedding rings, and a very tiny Christmas tree. Oh, it's a woman. It's a woman. Olive is a woman, and I should have known that. That just sounds like a woman's name, but it is a woman. Olive Guiste, Guiste, Olive, anyway, I know it's a woman because one of the knickknacks, I stooped down and I looked at what it says, and it says World's Greatest Grandma. Oh, and it's a little knickknack of, a little ceramic grandma that's sitting there having a cup of tea. And it's just knickknacks everywhere. I'll have to take a photo. But here comes the troubling part, and this is what I don't know what to do. I am going to leave it, but there's a beer can here. It's an empty beer can. It's a Busch beer can. Busch Classic. I wish I could look at when it's from, the expiration is January 29th, 2015. So it's recent. It's a Busch beer can, and it's sitting right next to, it's actually wedged in between the bust of Jesus and the Mary. So in between Jesus and Mary, there's an empty Busch can. And under normal circumstances, I would think that this would be litter. I would think that we are right next to a college campus. I would assume that somebody came up here and had a drink and just threw it down somewhere. But it is placed so almost lovingly in between these two figurines. And maybe it's meant to be there. Because who's to say, maybe the grandkids didn't come up here and have one with Grandma, I guess. Nothing wrong with that. I'm leaving it, of course, because if it is a memorial, like something special, of course it should be there. But I don't know, I kind of love it. I also found the grave of somebody that I didn't really know, but I had a loose connection to. So, I came upon a fairly recently dug grave. The grass hadn't grown over it yet, and I kind of stumbled on it by accident. I wasn't searching for anything new, but I found one. It is... I don't know if I should say the name. It is Joyce Sheasley, and as, I was looking at it, and I realized that, okay, at the radio station, I sometimes do the obituary notices, and she was one of the obituary notices that I had announced, and now I'm seeing her gravesite about 2 months later. She was buried in February, and I don't know. I guess it's kind of making me realize that these are people. Yeah. It is really nice. I don't know. It's really nice to see the graves that are obviously taken care of, and it's kind of astounding that according to this, some of these people have been dead and gone for like 50 years, and people are still coming and putting flowers and making an honest effort to clean everything up and make it look nice. So, I don't know, that's kind of great. Although I feel like whenever I die, I don't know if I want that. I think I'd like to be cremated, probably. If there's a more natural way than that, then sure, just stick me in the ground. But I don't know. Even being here with all these really beautiful, it's a beautiful cemetery with tons of really wonderful looking tombstones, and I hate to say that. You know what I mean? I hate to call them wonderful looking or even beautiful, but they really are. They're amazing. And they're really well done and touching. But I don't know if I'd like that. So anyway, hopefully that's a long way in the future. That's another thing. I guess I guess walking through a cemetery, if you're really thinking about where you are, you also start to think about, yeah, eventually I am gonna die. And then that'll be me. And then 100 years from now, somebody will be walking over top of me, and all I'll be is a name, which is, I don't know, sad, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. So I'm walking back to where the car is parked now. I should say one of the reasons that I decided to go in the cemetery was because Jeremy and I share a car, and sometimes depending on how the work schedules work out, one of us usually gets stuck in town because it's not really worth it to drive the 14 miles back to our house from where we work. So usually we get stuck in Indiana and have to find something to do. And on a whim, I decided that that's what I was going to do today for about 2 hours while I waited for Jeremy to be done at his work after I got done with mine. And it was just a lot of fun. I would totally do this again. And I am surprised. I'm surprised that I haven't done it before and that more people don't go through there and walk through there. That is a really lovely place. I feel like it's turned me creepy. I don't think you're supposed to go walking through cemeteries, but I would definitely do it again. Like, I've been trying to do kind of tourism in my own town, be a tourist here, even though we've lived close to here for 5 or 6 years now, maybe going on 7. So truly, we should have seen most of the stuff here, but we haven't. I've never been in that cemetery before, and it was great. It was, like I said, I've been trying to do more tourism-y things around town and get to know where I've been living. And this was one of my favorite things so far. And it's a cemetery. I had an awesome time there. I'd recommend checking out your own cemetery in your own town. If it's like mine, it's a nice, just quiet place to walk. You get to reflect and take in some history, and you get to feel like you had an adventure of some kind. So tell me about your own adventures by visiting smalltownpodcast.com. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/smalltownpodcast and also on Twitter with the handle @smalltowncast. You can also get a hold of me by emailing smalltownpodcastemail@gmail.com. Even though most of this was recorded outside of the house, I would like to thank the people and the animals in my house who put up with me while I record this kind of stuff. Usually what Jeremy does as I'm recording is he sits on the couch and cuddles with the dogs and tries to stay quiet while I record. Sometimes, though, he and one of our corgis, Millie, interrupts me.
God!
What?
She stinks! Oh, God! Is that your breath? Oh, it is! Oh, God!
Does she really stink that bad?
Yeah, go smell her.
I'm not smelling her. We need to brush her teeth. The instrumental song that you heard in the middle of this podcast is called Teller of the Tales by Kevin MacLeod. And if you like the song at the beginning of this podcast, I'm also going to be playing some of it at the end of this podcast as well. That is The Cemetery by an Italian dark folk band called The Bad Bastards. You can find them online at reverbnation.com/thebadbastards. Thanks for listening to Small Town Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Bad publicity is better than good. A lot of tourists come, but not all will leave. Look for an adventure, search the town where the boy called Bimp will face on the loose. Watch out, cause a filthy boy creeps around. And any time he can knock you down. Ties a big stone around your neck. With all the other tourists you will rest in a cemetery. In the cedar cemetery. In the cedar cemetery. In the cedar cemetery. In